Hi, I'm David Frame, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about theory. Now, in a lot of our lives, theory is treated as a dirty word, okay? Because theory, in many people's mind, is the antithesis of being practical, getting things done. And in fact, when someone starts using the word theoretical, it's usually used in a pejorative sense. If something's theoretical, what we're saying is it has very little bearing on what happens in the real world. Theory is a super crucial component of research. And in fact, it's creating theories, developing theories, is a part of our everyday lives. Okay, all of us, every day, we're creating theories to try to explain some of the phenomena that we see around us. Okay, I do some of my best theorizing when I'm driving my car. And recently I noticed when I was driving home on a Friday afternoon that it was about 5:30 p.m. I noticed that the traffic was quite a bit lighter on that afternoon than it had been on the prior work days of the week. And as I reflected on it, it occurred to me that Friday afternoons at about 5:30, the traffic seems to always be lighter. Okay, and I'm sitting there, I'm speculating on this. Why is it? Why is it that the traffic would be lighter on a Friday evening, afternoon than it would be on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday evening, afternoon? And then I developed a theory. Okay, and my theory was that I live in a city, and in a city you have a lot of office workers, okay, operating in bureaucratic organizations, and on Fridays they're eager to prepare for the weekend, and they tend to leave the office a half hour, an hour earlier. And then what that does, what that translates into is fewer cars on the road by 5:30. So that's just an ordinary theory that I created on the spot, and this is the kind of theory that all of us do, the theorizing that all of us do quite often during the day. We're constantly trying to explain what it is that we observe around us, and we do so by creating a theory. Now, what makes science and research different than this sort of day-to-day theorizing that we're talking about is that with science and research, you actually try to, when you create a theory, you try to go out and demonstrate it. You try to see whether you can support the theory, whether you really have an explanation that really works. In a formal sense, you go out and then you're testing your theory. Whereas in our day-to-day activities, we create a theory and you go, we store it away, and in a sense we're feeling kind of happy because we think we've kind of explained what's going on, and then we move on to our next thoughts. So the key thing here is that creating theories is a normal part of human activity. We do it all the time. But when you talk about creating theories in research and science, when you're doing trying to explain phenomena scientifically, what we've got to do is ratchet things up a bit. Okay, we have to treat it a little more formally. So let's take a sort of a common sense but semi-formal look at what theory is. So in general, theory is an attempt to explain phenomena that you observe. Okay, when you try to explain it, then you create a theory behind that gets behind what's going on here. Now, one of the traps that people who first get into formal research fall into when they try to create theories is they confuse a theory with the hypothesis. A hypothesis is a testable statement. Okay, in the example I gave before about traffic getting lighter on Friday afternoons, my hypothesis, which is a testable statement, is that on Friday afternoons traffic is lighter than it is on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday afternoons. That's my hypothesis. It's testable. We can actually go out and do a count of cars on the road and see whether the traffic is indeed lighter. We can even, if we're good at this kind of stuff, we can actually measure how much lighter is it. Okay, so I have a hypothesis, but I don't have a theory because a theory needs to explain. So my hypothesis only becomes a theory when I actually go the next step and use the word because. I have a hypothesis traffic is lighter on Friday afternoon because, then I go into my explanation. Okay, my explanation is because office workers are leaving the office earlier in order to prepare themselves for the oncoming weekend. So the total theory is traffic is lighter on Friday afternoons because office workers are leaving their jobs half hour, hour earlier on Friday afternoons in order to get prepared for the weekend. Okay, so what that boils down to, is a very simple formulation, okay, where with theory, okay, to have a true theory, what you need to do is you establish a hypothesis, okay, but that's not enough, plus an explanation, okay, where the point of the explanation is to establish the rationale behind the hypothesis. So let me give one more example that I just pull off the top of my head to make sure this is that this lesson is being conveyed properly to you. Okay, this just occurred to me just right now. Okay, I create a hypothesis that on the average, 18-year-old males in Washington, D.C., which is the area where I live, are taller than 18-year-old females. That's a hypothesis. It's a testable statement. It's not that difficult to go out, maybe go to a local high school, okay, and randomly select 20 18-year-old males, randomly select 20 18-year-old females, check their heights and see if indeed, on the average, 18-year-old males are taller than 18-year-old females. And I'm pretty sure the results are going to be yes, that you're going to find they are taller on the average. Okay, but that's just a hypothesis. We haven't explained anything yet. So to turn that hypothesis into a theory, we need to explain why is it that you would anticipate young males to be taller than young females. 18-year-old males, on the average, are taller than 18-year-old females because, that's crucial, because through the processes of historical evolution, okay, it was advantageous for males to grow bigger and stronger, and for females to be smaller. Okay, so that's what we're going to be looking at. We'll be looking at it in a more. We'll look at more formal examples, more examples that have more to deal with business operations and management. But fundamentally, what we've done here is to try to get across what a theory is, and even some hints on how do you actually articulate a theory. To articulate a theory, articulate the hypothesis, and then couple that with an explanation on why the rationale underlying that particular hypothesis.